Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang.
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel. Bhagavad-gita, here it is, because we have it, Bhagavad-gita as it is. And my name is Lavangalatika, and Bhagavad-gita is of course translated and commented by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we are in the 10th chapter. We are reading text 33 today, and this chapter is called Opulence of the Absolute, which means Krishna is saying among... we have read so many things. Among purifiers, I am the wind. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the Lord of Death. So today, in verse 33, I will start with the Sanskrit. Aksharanam akarosmi dvandva samastikasya cha aham eva kshaya kalo dhatahang vishvato mukhaha. Of letters, I am the letter A, and among compound words, I am the dual compound. I am also in inexhaustible time, and of creators, I am Brahma. So, Akara, the first letter. So, in the Sanskrit alphabet, Akara is the first letter, and in our alphabet, it's also the first letter. I'm reading the purport. Akara, the first letter of the Sanskrit alphabet, is the beginning of the Vedic literature. Without Akara, nothing can be sounded. Therefore, it is the beginning of sound. In Sanskrit, there are also many compound words, of which the dual word, like Rama Krishna, is called Dvandva. In this compound, the word Rama and Krishna have the same form, and therefore the compound is called dual. So I am quite unfamiliar with Sanskrit grammar and Sanskrit structure as such. I know some terms because they come back, so I guess I can't fully appreciate it. But of course, it's a good reason to say Rama Krishna, so why not? So that is the thing. This Bhagavad-gita is spoken in a certain time and a certain culture, and for those who have more knowledge and access and are more deeply rooted in this culture, they can maybe find the deeper meaning easier. But therefore Prabhupada have made it its purports, and in general we get the full benefit. And of course the full benefit is not just, we don't just get it from reading the words and memorizing them, but also from that purificatory effect that is there when we practice the process of Bhakti Yoga that is described in the Bhagavad-gita. But Bhakti Yoga is not practiced in a vacuum, because we call it, Prabhupada coined the phrase Krishna consciousness, consciousness of Krishna, awareness of the presence of the Supreme and of how we relate to Him and how everything relates to Him. So therefore, we also bring in everything. We don't just sit, because Prabhupada was very respectful to all the religious traditions in all the recognized religions. But really, to be Krishna conscious, we don't want to cut ourselves off and put ourselves in a little box and everything outside of the box is forbidden. It's rather like this. We have rules and regulation in order to help us not get pulled away by the illusory energy, so that we forget Krishna. But at the same time, Krishna says at one point to Arjuna, he says to Arjuna that everybody follows their nature. What can repression accomplish? And we don't want to take it out of context and say just do whatever you feel like, because we also have to understand the effects of our activities on our karma, and especially on our consciousness, and especially while we're in the process of developing love for God. We want to, Krishna also says, everyone follows my path in all respects, because really there is nothing but Krishna's energy in this world. But we want to be aware on this path, which direction are we going? Are we going closer to Krishna? So when we're going closer to Krishna, then this chapter is very helpful, that everything we see that is a little bit outstanding, how it reminds us of Krishna. So the letter A, especially in Sanskrit, as far as I know very little, but we read all these verses. We have a little part of the Bhagavad-gita that explain the pronunciation, and then the letter seems to be together. Yeah, let me find it. So the vowels are A and E and U and so on, but the consonants are ka and cha and ta. So the letter A is included in all the consonants also. So without the letter A, you can't really say anything. So without Krishna, there is nothing. So there is that. Among all kinds of killers, time is the ultimate, because time kills everyone. Time is the representative of Krishna, because in due course of time there will be a great fire and everything will be annihilated. So we see time like that. Then when we don't want to see God, because we want to see God, we like to see Krishna, we like to see Krishna's presence in everything. But if you try to live your life in such a way that you avoid the presence of God, then time, you cannot avoid time, because time, we like to think of time as, the hands moving on the clock, but that is not time. That is just some kind of way to measure time. It's just like weight. The scale is not weight, it's just a way to measure weight, but time is that energy that pushes everything forward. If I have a nice cup of ginger tea for my throat when I'm talking, now it's nice and warm, but with the energy of time, that temperature will go away and it will become lukewarm or cold. Now I'm drinking it, but once all the liquid has gone through my body, it has to go out again. We can't avoid it. So that is time. And eventually, first we are born in this body, and eventually this body will die, and that is time, and we can't avoid it. So that is Krishna's presence. If we want to avoid God, if you want to think there's no God, there's no controller, well, just try to avoid time and see how far you get. This comes back. Krishna actually says that in 2 places, time I am. So here's one. So it's really stressed. Like that. Among the living entities who are creators, Brahma, who has 4 heads, is the chief. Therefore, he is a representative of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Yes, so in this universe, we all can make something. I can knit something. I did that when the children were small, because you could knit a little sweater and it wouldn't take forever because it was so small, and it was nice and it was fun. And before I started, that sweater did not exist, and after I had created something with colors and textures and patterns. And in a sense I was the creator, but I was obviously dependent on someone else to make sure I could get knitting needles and the wool that I needed. So I'm a very tiny creator. And then we have bigger creators who create art or enterprises or empires. So they come up, and eventually they because of time actually, they run their course. But Brahma created everything inside the universe. So he's the secondary creator, because the material, the energy, the intelligence all came from Krishna. But he's the one who handled it. So in this universe, he's the greatest creator. And in that way, he's representing Krishna. I think I take another text. Text 34. Mrityu sarvaharaschaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kartishrirvakshanarinang smriti medhadritikshama. I am all-devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. Purport. As soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment, but the last stroke is called death itself. This death is Krishna. Yes, we have Krishna book. I might have mentioned it before, but Prabhupada was translating the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, which is, we read Bhagavad-gita, and we study Bhagavad-gita, and when we have some understanding of Bhagavad-gita, then when we enter into the Bhagavatam, we can go further, we can go deeper, we can come closer to Krishna. And Prabhupada was working on translating this great, I shouldn't call it an epic exactly, because it's not going from, like a story from point B to A to point B. But it includes so much from this universe, and especially coming closer to Krishna, because there's nothing else in the Bhagavatam. It's the Amala Purana. It is spotless. It doesn't have any tinges or parts that is anything else. It's all about bhakti, how to come closer to Krishna, how to understand him, and how to develop and avoid getting distracted or not taking full opportunity of this human form to come closer to Krishna. So that is the Bhagavatam. And in the end, the stories of Krishna himself are there, because it's good to go through it from stage to stage to come to the point where we will not misunderstand how Krishna appears as an ordinary person and plays with his friends, loves his parents, meets with his queens and so on. So we need to have the understanding that this is actually Krishna, and then when we hear about him, that Krishna consciousness increases. So there is one part before Krishna appears. His mother, Devaki, was getting married to Vasudeva, and they are Krishna's parents, in that Krishna appeared with them as a little baby, because out of his own sweet will, to bless his devotees with that opportunity to care for him as their own child. How kind is Krishna, and how nice of a process is this, that we actually reach out to Krishna to become his servant, but in a very close, loving relationship, like that of a mother for a child, and only this child is God. But at that point, they have just gotten married, and the tradition is that the bride moves to the household of the husband, and then she will live there, and then a close family brother will drive the chariot. So at this point, Kamsa steps in, and he's the driver of the chariot. And Kamsa, of course, Krishna is the most important person, but Kamsa is really, his shadow is covering a lot of those childhood pastimes, because he wants to kill Krishna. But at this point, there is no Krishna. There is just Devaki, his cousin sister, because in this culture, you say cousin brother and cousin sisters, because the cousins are so close that they are practically brother and sister. So he's driving this chariot, and then suddenly a voice comes out of the sky and says, Kamsa, you're a great fool. You are driving Devaki, but don't you know that the 8th child of Devaki will kill you? And then, because Kamsa is not a very nice person, he always puts himself first. So he's thinking, okay, someone's going to kill me. I'm going to put a stop to that. He grabs Devaki, pulls out his sword, and he's just about to chop her head off. Whereas Vasudeva intervenes, because can you imagine? You're just coming from the wedding, and you're driving together, and you still have the whole festive atmosphere with you. And then your bride's brother pulls out a sword to kill her. But he thinks very fast. He's trying to stop Kamsa, and he starts in the philosophical end, and he's saying, Kamsa, you know, we are all eternal souls. We all live, and then the body dies. So say you are 25 years old. That means you've been dying for 25 years. So that is inevitable. So please don't let it cause you any rash actions that will kill your fame, your good name. Everybody will think of you as that person who killed his sister on her wedding day. Is that what you want? Kamsa is not convinced, because apparently he puts his life above his reputation, which is not really natural for a Kshatriya, because the Kshatriya goes out and they fight to protect their kingdom and their citizens, and they don't mind dying as long as they did the right thing. Well, Kamsa is not of that caliber, so Vasudeva has to continue the discussion, but it's the same point exactly like Krishna is saying here, or like Prabhupada is saying here. As long as we live, every moment we die a little bit until this dying is completed, and that's what we call death. That's when we leave the body. So that's one way of looking at it. And in that we see Krishna, because just as with time, we cannot control time, we cannot stop it. And it may be a great inspiration for stories to think about time travel, but actually can't be done. It's like a river, it flows in one direction, and of course you can go back to that spot on the bank, but activity of the river moving, it has already moved on. So time is like that. It has moved on. You cannot go back or forth. You cannot control it in any way. And especially at the time of death. Prabhupada said that also. There was some, I don't remember, a rich, famous industrialist or something like that. And his doctor was saying, yes, unfortunately, your health has deteriorated very much. And you won't be able to live longer than such and such time. And this man says, no, that will not work. I have plans. I have to finalize. I have to do these things. I need to live 6 months longer. How much do I pay you? And the doctor just said, that's just not how it works. Death, you cannot control it because it is Krishna. And that's how we can see it. If we can't see Krishna in life, at least we can see Krishna at that point. And then we remember Krishna. And then that's a very good thing. Remembering Krishna at the time of death is like the perfection of life. As for future development, all living entities undergo 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. Of these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. So, yes, another way to see Krishna. Because for our life and for the birth, we may think that the daily activities and we can plan and so many things, but the fact that we are here at all is quite miraculous, and we have this opportunity, and then we can remember Krishna. And especially when we have children, especially when you have your first child, your whole life changes, and you never knew it would be like that, even if you planned for it. You never knew how much you would change, and that's such a, a milestone in the life. And then actually it's very good to remember Krishna at those points, because then we can bring Krishna into the situation, and then it adds a spiritual dimension to life. The 7 opulences listed, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience, are considered feminine. If a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. Sanskrit is a perfect language and is therefore very glorious. If after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with a good memory or smriti. And the ability not only to read many books or on different subjects matters, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence, medha. Another opulence. The ability to overcome unsteadiness is called firmness or steadfastness, dhritti. And when one is fully qualified, yet is humble and gentle, and when one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in the ecstasy of joy, he has the opulence called patience, kshama. Yeah, so we can read it in that way, that these words are in Sanskrit have a feminine gender to them, and therefore among women they are also considered women. Or we can consider that those qualities in women are very glorious, and therefore they are raised up to the point that Krishna says, I am them, they represent Krishna. And we can see these qualities and we can appreciate them, and then when we appreciate them we can also remember Krishna. Yes, so this is a lovely chapter. We hear more and more things. And actually, I kind of thought, yes, this chapter, we will go through a list of things and then we will remember Krishna, and that's very nice. But it is more than just very nice, because everything brings us into maybe that story or maybe that aspect. And that's actually Krishna consciousness, when it's not just a religion, it's not just a ritual, it's not just our hope for liberation. It is a fully, I would say 3-dimensional, but it's actually more than 3-dimensional reality that we can live in, and in every direction and at every step. Then there is this connection with Krishna in a natural living way, and this chapter is helpful because it gives us more of those points to remind us and connect us to Krishna. So thank you very much. You know that I have extra information in the box below, and any questions, I sincerely welcome them. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.